Hello and welcome to this video. Today I'm comparing Norway to Denmark. A little background information before I start comparing the countries. My name is Linny and I'm half Norwegian and half German, and I've been living in Norway for about 10 years now, and I've also lived in Denmark for about 8 months. So this video is a mix of some of my personal experiences and some research. Norway and Denmark are neighboring countries in Scandinavia. Denmark in general is much flatter than Norway. Denmark has a lot of hills and about 400 islands. The highest point, Møllehøj, is only about 170 meters tall. But Norway is all about the dramatic nature, like fjords, mountains and coastlines. So if you love mountains and adventure, Norway is the place for you. But if you like relaxed bike rides or maybe a trip to the beach, Denmark is the perfect place for you. Denmark has a lot of beautiful beaches, in my opinion. Norway is actually about 8 times bigger in size than Denmark. You can see here that Norway is much longer in size and Denmark is kind of more compact. But there are a few more people that live in Denmark, and this is due to the nature in Norway, because there are a lot of areas where there's mountains where you can't live. There are about 5.5 million people living in Norway, whereas Denmark has 5.9 million people. I know it's not a big difference, but if you think of the size, you would think that there would be more people living in Norway. Language is my favorite topic. Both Norwegian and Danish are Scandinavian languages, and they are pretty similar on paper. If you've watched my other video where I compare Sweden to Denmark, you already know that people in Scandinavia can understand each other. So even though I speak Norwegian, I can understand Swedish as well. And I can also understand Danish, but it's much harder than Swedish. If I read Danish on paper, I can understand everything. But when they talk, it's so hard to understand for me personally, because they pronounce the words differently than Norwegians would do. Norwegian, Swedish and Danish all come from the Old Norse, and Norwegian and Danish are actually so similar because Norway belonged to Denmark from the 14th century to the 19th century. They share a lot of history together, and that's what influenced the Norwegian language. Let me show you how similar the languages are with some examples. I'm not going to try to pronounce the Danish words myself, but I'm just going to use Google Translate to do it. So if I say "Hva er klokka?" so what time is it? "Hva er klokka?" In Danish it would sound like this.
Hvad er klokken? Hvad er klokken?
It's pretty similar, and it looks pretty similar as well. Those are almost the same words. Let's try a longer sentence. I'm gonna say my name is Linny and I live in Oslo. Mitt navn er Linny og jeg bor i Oslo.
Mit navn er Linny og jeg bor i Oslo.
Almost the same thing. One big difference with the languages are the numbers. The Danish number system is very complex, so they count in like 20s rather than in tens. And it's similar to the French counting or number system. From number 1 to like 49, it's very similar to Norwegian, but when it comes to 50, 60, 70 and so on, it's different. And I still haven't understood how it works, and I gave up. If you have an easy way to explain it, please comment below. One big difference in Norway and Denmark is the alcohol politics. Denmark is pretty laid back when it comes to alcohol, whereas Norway is very strict. In Norway, you have to be 18 to be able to buy beer and wine, stronger alcohol that you can only buy when you're 20 years old. In Denmark, you can buy alcohol when you're 16 years old. Another difference is that you can only buy beer and maybe cider and general alcohol that contains up to 4.7% alcohol in grocery stores. Then you also have a time limit. You can't buy it 24/7. From Monday to Friday you can buy it until 8 p.m. whereas on Saturday you can only buy it until 6 p.m. For any other types of alcohol, you have to go to a store that is called Vinmonopolet. Here you can buy wine and other types of spirits and liquor. But this store is only open until 6 from Monday to Friday and until 3 or 4 p.m. on Saturdays. And it's closed on Sundays. It's really limited how you can get a hold of alcohol in Norway. And if you want to buy some alcohol, like a beer or something in a bar, it's very expensive. In Denmark, you have to be 16 years old to buy alcohol in stores, and you have to be 18 years old to buy it in restaurants and bars. And for buying alcohol that contains more than 16.8%, you have to be 18 years old in Denmark. But in general, Denmark is so much more easygoing. You can also drink alcohol when you're on a train, for example. That is not allowed in Norway. When I went to Copenhagen, there were these small huts, or I don't know what to call it, like looked like a small coffee shop where you can just buy a beer to go. I got like a beer in a plastic cup and I was walking around in the city, which was kind of cool. It was kind of cozy. It had a hygge drinking vibe. Norwegians don't like small talk, and they are a little bit more reserved than Danish people, I would say. Danes are a little bit more relaxed and maybe a little bit more open to do some small talk. Kind of hard to get to know people at first, but they are very warm and generous when you start talking to them. So Danes are known for their relaxed and easygoing lifestyle. They're very humorous and fun to be with. What's funny is that if you would meet a Norwegian person, let's say in the metro, they wouldn't look at you, they wouldn't say hello. But if you go on a hike, every person you would pass throughout this hike would say hi hi. They would be like really nice, saying hello. That's where they are in their natural habitat. They will greet you. I do have the impression that Danes are much more open to socializing spontaneously than Norwegians are. Norwegians like to plan ahead. They like to know what is going to happen, whereas Danes are more like, yeah, let's go, let's do this. Comment below if you have any other experiences than me. Both Norwegians and Danes are active people, but they have different ways of being active. Norway is especially known for skiing and hiking because of their nature and their mountains. Denmark is a country with a lot of bikes. When I went to Copenhagen, there were so many bikes. It's much easier to bike in Denmark because it's flat and because it has the infrastructure to bike. There are more bike lanes than in Norway. Denmark does have a concept that is called hygge, which basically means that you're having a very comfortable and cozy type of lifestyle. Both Danes and Norwegians have a strong focus on a work-life balance. I think that's where the hygge concept comes in as well. Both of us try not to work more than we have to, and it's important for us to take vacations and some time off to do other activities like going outside in nature and doing something with friends and family. When it comes to food, both Norway and Denmark have a focus on eating unprocessed and whole foods. It's all about natural foods. And they both have really good pastries. And I do think it's kind of hard to know where the pastries originally come from. The cinnamon bun you can find in Denmark, Norway and Sweden. I do think Sweden is the one who invented the cinnamon bun, but it is very popular in all of the countries. You can also find the wienerbrød in Denmark, but I do think it's originally from Vienna, because it's called wienerbrød. So Wien is Vienna. And in Norway we like to make boller, which comes in a lot of different variations, but usually it's made with some cardamom. Cardamom I also see often in Danish pastries as well, and in Swedish ones as well. So you can eat boller with chocolate, you can eat boller with cream or custard inside, or just the original boller. Other than pastries, Denmark has really good sandwiches, which are called smørrebrød. I'm not gonna try to pronounce it in Danish, I'm kind of like saying it in Norwegian right now, smørrebrød, which are like open-faced sandwiches. Other than that, Danish people eat a lot of like vegetables, pork, potatoes, and also fish and chicken and stuff like this. I went to a couple of restaurants in Copenhagen, and I have to say the food is really, really good. There's a lot of diversity when it comes to restaurants in Denmark. Especially in Copenhagen, there are restaurants with food from all over the world. But I've also experienced the same in Oslo as well. I would say Norwegian food has even more focus on fish, because Norway is known to be a big fishing nation. My favorite fish is salmon, and I eat it a lot in Norway, even though it's expensive. But we do eat some of the same things as Danes do, like potatoes, pasta, rice, and lots of vegetables. I have mentioned it a couple of times, I think, in this video. Norway is expensive, especially when you live in Oslo, and when it comes to food, you really have to be prepared to pay a bit more. Denmark is a bit cheaper. Things like meat, dairy, and also alcohol that I've already talked about are much more pricey than in Denmark. Sometimes Norwegians even drive to Sweden to do grocery shopping there to save some money, because it's not far. When you live in Oslo, for example, it's just like a 1 or 2 hour drive by car. Other than that, the grocery stores are pretty similar. We even have some of the same types of grocery stores like Rema 1000. And I would say that Denmark has a bigger selection of international foods than Norway. Denmark and Norway are very traditional. The most important celebration of the year for Norway is the 17th of May, which is the Norwegian Constitutional Day. And this is a big celebration. People will put on their bunad, the traditional gowns. They go outside and they join parades. The streets are full of Norwegians in their bunad, which is expensive, by the way, again. And I really wish I had a bunad. My mother did have a bunad, a telemarksbunad, because she was Norwegian. It was really pretty, and one day I want to buy a telemarksbunad. I do not think that Denmark has a constitutional day or like a big celebration like that. When I asked Google what the biggest celebration is for the Danes, it said Christmas. So Christmas is apparently a big tradition for Denmark. It is for Norway as well, but Denmark is really all about like family traditions and gathering all of the friends and family together, eating traditional meals and putting up festive decorations. But I think it is pretty much the same in Norway. We also love Christmas. We have the same day. We celebrate the 24th, and it's the evening for us, not like in the US you celebrate in the morning, and we have like a dinner together. We open the Christmas presents the 24th of December. And that's all I wanted to compare today. If there are other topics that you have in mind or other important things that I forgot to mention, please comment below. And if you enjoyed this video, please remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!